All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Friday, the 3rd of September, 2021. Jobs report coming out today during pre-market. Obviously not liking it that much as it came out because it was pretty lackluster, but no dire consequences occurring during market hours, to say the least. Daily still holding incredibly crazy strong. Let's see if this trend can continue to go. Of course, I am still long at this point, but golly, of course, I love the adage always and forever that the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solid. It's so tempting to want to be short this thing so hard and so often with every single one of these days. But golly, I'll certainly be waiting for that move if it does ever come. Or more importantly, I'll be waiting for maybe just even looking to watch this one, because I know with a potential trading career future that I have in my sights, I know that there could be plenty more opportunities to come down the road. So I'd rather just potentially get a learning experience from this one if it does ever happen, especially coming in the October months, more of the fall months here, if that does ever happen. Housekeeping before we get going here, just small, little down day on the P&L, but other than that, dollar volume, NASDAQ, again, $156 billion volume. We're over 2 hours after market close here at this point. Of course, it's a little bit of a slower Friday, but still just an even nicey, under $200 billion volume. OTC, same thing, under $2 billion volume, just slow all the way around. Not had a little bit of exciting action and some pre-market movers, but just again, not nothing absolutely crazy that makes me. Today was definitely different for me too, and just mentality, because today I really was even not wanting to trade whatsoever, which probably should be my mentality in trading, that I don't want to trade, but it was different in a sense that it was just like these charts today feel like I was taking away from my mental space in a sense. It was just like nobody's gonna win today. I guess it was the mentality I was taking into it. But other than that, I had a few tickers on the watch list coming into the morning. ANY, of course, from yesterday, had a pretty insane day. And this was the first chart I pulled up on the day. And of course, I saw it all the way down here and figured, okay, potential offering if it's slapping on this hard. But then also in that same thought thinking, well, it's not down that much in a sense. And then watching pre-market prep with Bowen, he even said the same thing too, that this was his number one. If this thing is able to attract more and more volume and come back to that red to green level, this thing could get absolutely ludicrous. And that was the thing I mentioned yesterday too on this one, looking at the volume chart as well too. A day like yesterday required this type of volume candle to come in order to create that type of price action. And that's, if you're thinking we're going to get that type of reversal after an offering and after a huge, it's a huge, but still in the same thing of just a hard sell-off from all these speculative longs and bag holders coming into this one. I could have seen it happening, but I was speculative still, to say the least, but excited if it was going to happen. But of course it didn't. It got a little spiky here, came back above VWAP after this hard pull down in the pre-market, and then double toppy here, then fade the whole rest of the day. So nothing much coming of that. SQBG and PETV I'll get into later, because I did actually trade those, but those were some that I was looking at, not for news catalysts, but they had some pretty nice, they were downtrodden on a daily, but they were coming up on some pretty nice technical levels of resistance with some strength that I thought if they attracted any amount of good volume, and they were super low float as well too, I think those could have pushed pretty nicely. So I'll get into those in the trades in a little bit. And then APOP and FTFT, of course, were some pre-market percentage movers that I was also keeping my eye on, but nothing hugely that I was ecstatic about that I absolutely want to be in compared to the rest of the week, like a BBIG or any of the other pre-market movers. Starting off with APOP. This was really the main dip and rip opportunity that came from the news release yesterday. This is an Israeli biotech, float of 3.5 million, reported short interest of 7%. The news catalyst was they did their first marrow transplant on a U.S. patient. Whatever, over my head, and I don't really care about it. It's pushing some nice dollar volume in the pre-market. And Bowen was a little pissed too, because he's going, come on, people, you know better than this. You got to do it at 8:30 press release. Get the attention going then too. Get people caught off their feet. But meanwhile, of course, they released it after the market closed yesterday on Thursday. But anyway, we still get nice action here, enough to say not necessarily trapping longs or trapping shorts, not too insane of a volatility spectrum to just wear people out before market hours, which is kind of the factor I look to as well too, even for my own mental space, but knowing too that, hey, we got to get everybody pretty much going in one direction or another, and then tipping the boat to see which way it's eventually going to go. that's the factor we need. But ultimately, we need people in this thing. And if everybody's already tired out and just exhausted of their capital or if they're trading on a cash account, or if they're just mentally exhausted from saying, screw it, I'm not trying to trade this ticker anymore, that's no good for the volatility, because we want huge amounts of eyeballs, huge amounts of money being thrown around on these types of tickers. So we had a little bit of an uprise, which I don't want to see more volume coming in closer to market hours, which gets me thinking, okay, there may be some manipulation, or the move may already be over. If the move is coming, if attention's already being placed to this, then golly, it's tough to say to try and get in again at this point, because then it's either almost like the ideology of selling the news, in a sense that if there's more money coming in at this point right now, how do you expect that it's got to take a lot more money then in the future, or in the next few hours, if it's going to do anything more after that, essentially? But either way, looking at this one as a dip and rip, I knew I wanted to be patient with this one. I wasn't going to try and trade up this consolidation here at this point with the little trend it was doing right out of the open here. Of course, this is the tick chart. Each candle is 100 trades. Got a little, this of course is 937, so I knew this is a little early for this to start dipping here, but I could see it maybe getting a little bit of a pullback to VWAP here with the type of dollar volume it has, with the hard enough of a sell-off it did to try and track in shorts. I knew Jack number 2 was also looking at this one as an all-day fader. Those types of traders looking to short this one for a long intraday play at least. Hey, we can get a little quick action, at least hopefully something back to VWAP, because that's around a 10% move here from this position. Just under a 10% move. We were looking for 8, 9 or so. So I got a first little slice, super small position size. Of course, I'm still sticking to that $500 intraday single ticker max. Took like half of that at like a $250 position size, I think. Looking to play for this upside off of this little curl basing, but of course it broke that bottom low. Cut my losses quick. Still maintained an eye on it, and now you're getting that slow, nice, steady action back off of that dip, which I think is the much better sign too. And this was a good, nice, and slow mover as an example of what should potentially be a nice catching off sides of the shorts if they're thinking, oh, okay, well, it's not squeezing to the upside, or even though it is, it's just a slow Band-Aid pull against them the whole time that we're getting this nice action closer to VWAP, even though this is, in hindsight, it is a declining VWAP. But getting that just quick little action here until it becomes the point of no return, that it just absolutely smashes them to the upside, and we get the nice opportunity to sell our shares into that we bought on the dip. But anyway, I got another, finished out that remaining size of that $500 intraday ticker trade size unwritten rule that I use here at this point, and it was looking decently, holding my entry price pretty well. Broke it a little bit, but still holding 810-ish. And then we're getting here, and it's the 9:45 time frame, and this whole time too, I'm telling myself that, okay, there, APOP, it's got to happen now or never. You're either going to go to the upside pretty hard and nicely, or we're going to dump here. And it just kept kind of trending and holding this here, and then eventually, of course, it did dump and cut it when it broke this 810 area. I knew it was, if it broke that, then I definitely don't want to be a part of it. I think it's just picks up speed and continues to rip down more of these technical levels if it was going to break that 810. So good sell on that, good cut. Was a $10 loss in total on this one. Nothing huge, nothing insane, but just good learning lessons, and always good experience to see that dip and rips are never going to be 100%. No pattern is going to be 100% effectiveness hit rate on these ones, and it's always good to understand when losers are going to happen, or see maybe characteristics of knowing when to pull the chute. If this consolidation is lasting too long, of course I say too long, this was 2-3 minutes that it was holding here, but I mean, did double top. It was holding this range for a good while. More experience in knowing when to pull a chute if a pattern's going to happen, but then also justifying, hey, it could just be playing with you, toying with you, understanding that potentially setting hard technical level risk levels, or understanding giving it room to breathe over time, developing the different variables in each of these strategies like that. Great experience in that regard on this one today. So then SQBG and PETV were the other ones. I loved the daily chart. I did not love the intraday price action. Really, really low volume on all of these ones. Today, the volume on PETV was $13.7 million volume, 12,000 trades. So decent, but not awesome. Of course, it's got this huge overhead, and we're in this hard downtrend of just hard red and selling. But now we've got this huge volume days for some reason, and it's coming up on this technical level here of like 4.2 precisely, especially trying to fill this gap. Essentially, super low float as well of 5.9 million. This is an American medical company, so we love the super sketchiness of it. And again, similar thing to ANY of seeing that this type of day in itself required that much volume, even just to get that, knowing, hey man, we got to get a lot of volume if we think we're going to crack that level and to justify trying to hold this for an even greater trade beyond that. But even still too, in the morning session, it was looking decently coming up on with little volume, coming to test that level of $4 whole level, coming up on 4.2. It wasn't there yet, but I thought, hey, it is a Friday. We could get super squeezy here if volume all of a sudden randomly starts to come in on this thing. So got a 10 share position. I think I maxed out on both of SQBG and PETV of 10 shares, super, super small on both of them. Knowing in the back of my head, hey, this is not an A+. This is not the volume checkbox in order for me to get an entry was not there, but I'm not going to argue against the price action. Hey, this thing is coming to test on here. And if it does start to go and then volume starts to come in, I'm going to look like an idiot. I'm going to feel like an idiot because why am I arguing with price action? Price is the only thing that pays. What? You shouldn't have to say that the trade needs to require to fill every single and every random checkbox that I make in my head of a trade plan versus looking at the price action and saying, hey, that's doing, exactly what you thought it was going to do, just get long. And it did actually have an awesome, great move here, 10% to 4.3. I think I was looking at this thing. I pretty much got an entry here, watched it consolidate, bounce off a little bit of VWAP, and I set it and forget it, stop and limit order, like 375, and then 4.5, I think I set a limit order at if it was going to spike that crazy high to the upside. So I think I was making breakfast or something. I just went away from the computer at this point thinking, hey, if it does it cool. If not, maybe if I had a larger position watching this thing fully at the computer. It's coming on from the intro as well too with that same thesis. Trying to watch this type of price action is just so mind-numbing to me too, of just the inconsistency and the illiquidity, and then playing the guessing games in my head of, oh, the level 2 dropped off here, but then all of a sudden it comes back and then we get this little hit of one red volume candle here that goes crazy, and it's so much more bad than it does good for me, I think, trying to read into that illiquidity, slowness, and just the dojis, the boringness that it may carry within that intra trade. But did have a nice move, and then just sold off super quick after that, which was funny. So may or may not have potentially taken off like half of my position at that 10% opportunity if I was watching it with a big position size. But just good to see that I was correct in my thesis, thinking, hey, it has a little bit more upside, even though the volume wasn't necessarily there right at my entry. Volume did come in kind of randomly. Had a nice bounce off of VWAP, and obviously other traders or algorithms, whatever, came in to push that thing just a little bit higher and gave the opportunity, that little flash opportunity to scalp a quick move there. SQBG, of course, then same type of thing. I loved the daily. Of course, it's got so much overhead. The same thing again, similar to PETV, and also the low floatness of it as well too, of 1.1 million, even lower float. But in this little bit of a downtrend, but now we're coming up in these nice volume days here, and just like same thing once again, we've got this pretty decent. What day is this? How much of a percentage move? Like 4.8 all the way up to 9, almost 100% move in a sense on this one day. But of course, the huge volume candle to support that reasoning for that percentage move in a sense. So, and then coming up on the understanding to say, if we're going to try and break that high a day or that technical high at that point, we're going to have to require similar amount of volume to come in order to see those same amount of returns in a sense. So love the daily, obviously excluding yesterday, coming into today. Then we had this bounce, and now we're kind of holding here off of that basing, holding above VWAP as of yesterday. Pre-market was looking decently. Again, not a lot of volume coming in, so it wasn't really a main draw to me, but keeping it in the corner of the chart, corner of the screen, if I want to do anything crazy. Just as I was about to head out to go do other stuff for the afternoon session and just take the afternoon off, of course, it did start looking pretty nice. And of course, the factors are going in my head, hey, this is Friday afternoon, we could get absolutely crazy if volume starts to come on this, because Friday afternoons usually are the crazy short squeezy times, because shorts don't necessarily always want to be holding over the weekend, especially into a long weekend. I definitely don't want to be holding something for 3 more days and add more stress to that over the Labor Day weekend here. So kind of bought the top in a sense of, again, another 10 share position size. This was a little bigger, of course, than PETV and dollar volume size. But again, 10 shares is super speculative because of the fact that it wasn't a lot of volume coming in. The total dollar volume today, 36 million, 19,000 trades on the day. Yeah, unfortunate that I thought there was plenty more room. Of course, it was still just right under that little peakiness, and it wasn't if I was going to say that I was trading this totally professional as an A-plus driven trader, I would have had to been watching this thing so much more and harder for a consolidation point to get an entry, rather than just saying, oh, it's green, it's up, it's close to these technical levels. It could come in with volume, and then just kind of randomly throwing my entry in there, and then again setting it and forgetting it and going away from the computer. But that's kind of what I did on this one. And yeah, not the greatest entry, but I certainly thought it had, with the low float it does have, and with the potential that Friday afternoons do have, the sketchiness of this company, the former runnerness that this company does provide these days here, this one and doneness day here, this little run up on here. We just didn't have it in the bag today. No volume to come in and push it. Same thing as like on all the setups, APOP, ANY. It's just the volume that is the huge factor in all of these. So yeah, I think my range here was whatever this is, 875, giving it enough room to breathe, but not letting it go crazy, not giving it a huge leash. And then I think I set my limit order at like freaking 15, thinking if we go absolutely crazy. I doubt that was what it actually was, but I was like, man, we could just go absolutely nuts, and I'm not going to cut myself short if it does while I'm away from the computer. So yeah, super high improbability that trade was going to actually limit out for a profit, but just good experience. Again, good seeing. More so just the recognizing of the patterns beforehand to me too. I think that's what I'm going to talk about in my monthly recap as well too. But what I haven't been doing to the best of my ability is building those watch lists and the trade plans even before the market day. So in reviewing my trades like I'm doing now, or even after the close for the next trading days, getting more involved in that process and building out the mental capital, building out the trading plan, I guess, of before I get into the arena, because I think I screw myself a lot over the time, because that is not how my personality works. I need to have, if I'm thinking through something well in advance and I'm so well prepared for it, when the moment comes, I'm not going to be flustered. I'm not going to be thrown off by that, because I know I can feel it totally too, that when I'm so much more prepared and I'm so much more involved in these far earlier on than just clicking on them randomly in the pre-market when I'm reviewing them and seeing them, it just works out so much better for me to have that longer time frame for my brain to stew over that information and then trade upon that later, rather than just pulling them up soon, quick, and then trying to develop a good trade thesis in the moment, in a sense. So great learning lessons in that. So that was all my trades on the day, $15 down day. Other tickers I just wanted to mention as well too. FTFT was, of course, one of the other pre-market percentage movers on the scanner. Did have a little bit of a morning dump attempt here that I thought we were gonna get a new high day here attempt off of this VWAP crack reject, but then rejected that attempt here and pushed even lower. Not the highest percentage mover on the day, like a 10% block here is from 3 all the way down to 2.7, which is rough. And then you kind of get this little double toppy action here after this Willy Wonka W, another little sell-off into the market hours. Then you get a shake out of the shorts, risking high day right at the open. Then you get a pullback under VWAP, just choppy the whole way. You get this range trading, even though this is higher lows, looking great as a absolute long trap. And that's what I was seeing the whole time too, of, hey, it looks nice to play to the upside with. This is a super low float as well too. 50 million float. I remember trading this one as a valid company though. This is in the crypto space. It's a Chinese company, but I can remember it trading. It's kind of a legitimate company. I've been aware of this one for a long time, so it wasn't necessarily like this was a huge pump and up manipulation type of stock, but obviously that's what came into effect here too, is we're getting nice little bottoms, higher lows being put in the whole time. You get a little reject here, like slappage of that higher push attempt, but then you just get this nice full one, especially looking at that volume candle as well too, right in the middle of the afternoon session saying, you thought we were going to go higher into the afternoon session and close awesomely. You thought wrong. And again, this was one of those two that, thinking as it breaks here to a new low of day, hey, that could be a potential short. You could just play this one for an all-day fader type of play on that one. Of course, I didn't take it because I don't have data on it, and I don't really just want to play these on a hunch. But of course, I did it as well as you in hindsight, but just building the database on that and firing the ideas in my head, verbalizing them out loud to say, hey, you were right in a lot of these, and maybe start tracking some data on them, paper trading them, or just keeping an eye on them, because it could be the ability to recognize them is pretty valuable. And if you keep getting a nice hit rate on them, absolutely start testing it. That's how I started with my first short pattern. That's really how patterns come out, obviously, right? So that was FTFT. Of course, it's coming off the list. I don't see it doing much anymore the next few days. I don't think it has any type of third day surge play. It just sold off so weakly here into the close. It did have a little pullback, but just the percentage move and the volume. It was a $204 million volume day, 180,000 trades. Yeah, I don't really know what much left it has in the tank over the weekend. BBIG, of course, I also wanted to talk about, just became this nice long panic within the first 4 minutes out of the gate. Got the shorts a little bit chasey if you were missing it, thinking, oh shoot, okay, here the moves goes. But also in the back of my mind was the okay, but also remember the insane reversal that it had on the huge day of you get that nice perfect little panic sell off right away from the gate these first 2 minutes, and then bam, you just get slapped in the face into these massive halts. So that's in the back of my head. I don't know if it was for any other traders of this ticker today too, but it put in a nice little sell off, of course, in this continual downtrend. We're getting peaky a little bit, but just now chopping away too. Nobody's winning in all these. Just, as the market continues to evolve, we're just getting so much more choppier, even on the daily level, on the intraday level. You can't just play this thing the same way that, I'm learning from these mentors from 5-10 years ago. These charts and these tickers trade so much differently than they used to. Back in my day, of course, how much of a newbie I am that I can say that, but God, yeah, it's so tough to see. And then you get the little squeeze here. Mentioning on this one too, Mark Crook's, one of his favorite patterns, that 11 a.m. you dip buy when all the shorts are pretty much done for the morning session, and they look to start covering, or the big players will then start to cover, and then the little shorts who are trying to play this for more of a fade into the afternoon, then they start to get squozen out. That was a little bit of effect here. That would be 8 a.m. our time here, this 11 a.m. dip buy-ish pattern. Not a hard 11 a.m., but I'm playing here, giving a little bit of breathing room. It comes back to VWAP and then puts in some nice squeezy move, percentage move to the upside on that, and just chopping away here too. Mark Crook was hard on that one with GCM, that he loved this. It was a perfect representation of an 11 a.m. dip buy here. You get this hard sell-off, shorts just doing awesome for this morning session. They can hold through this little peak here, and then you get a nice double bottom, pretty much right at that 11 a.m. time frame, and then perfect, nice green trend off of that double bottom to the upside to take profits on as a long. Cool to see that. Of course, this one was short share restricted. And that was all I had to talk about today. I think tomorrow coming into Tuesday, which would be over the Labor Day weekend, I'll keep an eye on PETV. If volume wants to come in, I think it was closing. It held under VWAP pretty much this whole day, but failed to continue to die off. It could potentially have some more in the bag too, seeing as well, kind of from this trend, it does have the ability to just go multiple days producing the same color day over and over and over again. So we could see some volume coming in, especially if they're going to release any type of news or press release. That is going to be awesome to jolt this thing to the upside. TGGI was another one that, coulda, shoulda, would have been overnight. These really are my favorite just because of the price action. The mental space I need to try and trade these. It's just so numbing to me to try and watch this, especially with the dollar volume. What was this one today? A $3.6 million volume, 2,500 trades. There's not much liquidity going into, and I'm always keeping in the perspective of, the future trader and me too, how much size I do want to be taking in the patterns that I'm trading now and how I can potentially trade them in the future. You definitely can't be taking huge size on these types of charts, or else you just get absolutely screwed over if you're in the wrong. And no, that's just not for me. So it could have a nice little, of course it is a sub penny, could have a nice little overnight here that I will keep a watch on, just to see if it gaps up coming into Tuesday next week, or what it wants to do there. Maybe continue on for a little bit higher, come to test the actual penny price range. But that was TGGI, and that was all I had. I thank you guys so incredibly much for watching. We are continuing to just pound away at these red days. The learning lessons are just getting stackpiled one on top of another. I thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have an awesome Labor Day weekend. We will catch you guys next week. Peace.